Iron. Live service games almost entirely across the board have losing players, losing relevance, and hemorrhaging money. While at the exact same time, every major publisher is rushing to go and
What
make
am I
the
doing?
next live service game, or they are desperately clinging on to their existing ones, trying to stay afloat, not realizing that's exactly what's causing this problem in the first place. Because something's been going on, but nobody's caught wind. It makes a lot of sense. In most cases, we look at gaming failures in a case-by-case basis rather than zooming out and looking at the bigger picture. But when you do, you see that the foundation is starting to crumble. You look around and you see that every player in every community is complaining about the exact same things. You see prices that are skyrocketing, plummeting. You see microtransactions become the main priority of these companies, monetization become the main priority of these companies, and at the exact same time, communities are dying. You see that content creators and streamers who have built their entire career around single games have lost relevance at a rapid rate, and that's a sign of decay. It's a sign of collapse. These are warning signs that a lot of people aren't paying attention to. The industry has overvalued live service games to a reckless degree while undervaluing single player games or just day one paid for experiences. And most of them have completely abandoned them. Look at EA. They come forward and believe that Dragon Age the Veilguard failed because a lack of live service elements.
If you hate aggressive scents like
It's campfire leather musk overload.
you'll love Downy Light. When you add it to your wash, it gives everything the gentle,
Dabba, dabba, dabba,
nature-inspired
dabba.
scent of ocean mist. Downy Light breathes life into your laundry.
This is reality. What world do we live in? The best-selling and most talked-about games over the past few years have almost all been single-player games, and I think the vast majority of people will probably agree with me on that. Those are the games that I remember the most, at the very least. Today, what I want to do is I want to talk about the slow drain on relevance in live service games, the exhaustion of the player base, and why putting all your money and betting all your money on live service has now become a death sentence. The industry is changing, and I don't think they're ready for it. Now, every single year we go through the same cycle. Players and content creators debating whether or not their favorite live service game is finally dying. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, Call of Duty, Apex Legends, virtually every major title goes through one of these phases. And for years, it's mostly been hyperbole. But now, it's slowly becoming all but inevitable. Whether it's general fatigue, lack in content, financial strain, new game releases, or unchecked issues, players are leaving live service games in droves right now. I mentioned this before, but Call of Duty has lost nearly all of the players that it gained from the launch of Black Ops 6.
Huh?
Active retention is normal. This isn't a post-launch fall-off. This is a catastrophic collapse. And it's not just Black Ops 6. The Steam launcher is tracking Call of Duty Warzone as well, meaning that all numbers across the board are plummeting. YouTube and Twitch metrics are telling the same story. Content creators who have built their audiences around Call of Duty are seeing a reduction of their normal viewership. Apex Legends lost 70% of its player base in just 1 year, and all the complaints between these two games is almost identical. Lack of variety of content, reusing cosmetics rather than creating anything new. Content that raises the skill ceiling and alienates casual players. Persistent bugs and performance issues. Rampant cheating, and yet somehow, some way, the only thing these developers seem to prioritize is monetization. Players are bored, fatigued, and frustrated, while these companies behind these games keep extending their hands asking for more money. And this has been a consistent trend because last year, Ubisoft reconfigured their battle pass for Rainbow Six Siege, increasing prices, removing rewards, not adding any new content to the game, while asking players if they'd like to purchase a membership to keep playing the game. Many live service studios have tunnel vision profit and completely lost sight of the quality of their product and the service that they're supposed to be delivering. That's why they're losing players. I mean, look at what's going on with League of Legends. Riot has always been a studio, for the most part, that has been frequently celebrated by its players, but recently the developers stepped forward to explain that while player retention is stable and revenue is up, they've come to realize that Hextech Chess, a free reward path that many players made their primary way of earning free cosmetics, is somehow not sustainable anymore. And, quote, we are giving away too much free stuff. Guys, we're making enough money, but we want more. That's essentially what they're saying here. How the hell greenlit this? These dudes said, we only want you to buy something when you feel it's worth it, yet you took away the only way for players to get free stuff. How did you think this is going to go over? Now, while many live service games have been struggling the past few years, much of it for self-inflicted reasons more than anything else, single-player games have been thriving. We are in the middle of a renaissance, with both indie and AAA games reaching massive audiences and delivering real satisfaction. Hogwarts Legacy outsold Call of Duty. Baldur's Gate 3 is still one of Steam's most played games. Black Myth Wukong shattered Steam's confirmed player records. Kingdom Come Deliverance made all of its money back within 24 hours, and the player numbers continue to rise. The list goes on. While live service games are still popular, we are witnessing a shift. Players are finding more value and are being more valued in single-player experiences. It's hard to ignore all the successes. And I think this is the key weakness in live service games and why they're struggling. Many single-player games still understand what players want, while live service games have lost sight of it entirely. The best single-player games aren't just selling gameplay, they are delivering a complete experience, a world worth investing in, a story worth following. Meanwhile, live service games become nothing more than a financial experiment rather than a creative pursuit. Studios aren't building games for players anymore, they're building platforms to extract revenue. Every update, every feature, every design decision is dictated by retention metrics and engagement algorithms rather than genuine craftsmanship. The result? A stagnant, disposable gaming ecosystem. Quality is an afterthought and player goodwill is traded for short-term profit. That's why I find it almost comical to hear that EA's Andrew Wilson, a man who has spent years gutting single-player franchises, is suggesting that Dragon Age The Veilguard failed because it lacked live service elements. It's a perfect example of how disconnected these executives are from reality. They aren't just ignoring the industry's trends, successes, and failures. They're actively rejecting the lessons they should be learning. In an article written by Todd Black of Gamerate titled
Oh, I don't even have any.
Dragon Age The Veilguard failed because of a lack of live service elements, Todd writes, video games can fail for multiple reasons, and not all of them is on the developer or publisher. There are plenty of cult classic titles that were high-quality games, it's just that many people didn't give them the chance. There are also times when games are high quality, but developers or publishers never gave them the big push marketing-wise, so people really weren't aware of them and thus didn't buy them. Then there are games like Dragon Age The Veilguard, which had plenty of push from BioWare and EA, but it also had a ton of baggage in the public eye. And that was the key reason why it failed. However, that's not what Electronic Arts feels. While speaking at an investor call, as noted by comicbook.com, EA CEO Andrew Wilson made a bold statement claiming that the reason the BioWare RPG failed wasn't because of a lack in quality or marketing, but because the game didn't have any live service elements to help it connect with gamers. Now, to make sure that I really drive home Andrew Wilson's words, because I want to make sure everybody understands this clearly, I'm going to do this in my best CEO voice, so give me just a second. At Mint Mobile, we're always looking for innovative ways to save you money, so you can keep paying $15 a month for premium wireless. That's why instead of hiring an expensive director for this commercial, we found someone who worked for Candy and approval. Hey, Density. Density is so weird. All right, admit. Too high, honey. There you go. Hey. Nap time. Nap time. So embarrassing. Sorry, guys, this one's on me. Is a global leader in entertainment. Great titles, even when built and delivered with polished execution, can sometimes miss our financial expectations. In order to break beyond the core audience, games need to directly connect with the evolving demands of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category. Dragon Age had a high-quality launch, the biggest launch, probably the biggest launch ever. And it was well reviewed by critics and those who played it. However, it did not resonate with a broad enough audience in this highly competitive market. Guys, I don't know what to say. Andrew Wilson isn't just out of touch. I don't even think this guy is on Earth. I'm starting to wonder if all these gaming CEOs all get together for a peyote retreat in the desert. Live service is becoming Scientology for these people. The idea that Dragon Age The Veilguard failed because of lack of shared world experiences that players crave is laughable when the data shows that players aren't craving shared world experiences, they're craving good games, and they always have. By the way, keep in mind, he is the one that made the decision to revert the game from a live service game back into a single-player game. So if he had all this infinite wisdom, where was it when he made that decision? This isn't the first time that EA is trying to push this narrative. Back in 2017, Wilson said almost the exact same thing, that players just don't want linear games anymore like they did 10 years ago. And what was the result of that thinking? Well, EA shut down Visceral Games, the developers of Dead Space, one of the most beloved single-player studios that they had, because CFO Blake Jorgensen declared that they had to cut the bridge when you realize that you can't make a lot of money on something. And here we are years later watching EA continue the same move away from single-player games and pushing more into live service, blaming the Veilguard's failure on a lack of live service. To me, is nothing more than a desperate attempt to justify a shift that's well underway. A shift where EA can quietly transition all of its studios into live service factories while cutting out single-player development entirely. Because to them, single-player is too expensive, too risky, and not profitable enough. And to me, that's a death sentence. I think that by ignoring single-player successes and their value, these studios and publishers have lost sight of why players come to play games in the first place. And that isn't sustainable, and we're starting to see the signs of that now. Now, before I get into this, because this is a multi-layered issue that these games, these companies are suffering from, I don't have an issue with live service games. I love live service games. There's plenty of them that I play, but I think that these companies have undervalued single-player games and complete paid experiences, and I don't think they understand those game successes, and I think they're failing to learn the right lessons. Players do not have the time, the money, or the energy to only play live service games. That's not sustainable. We need variety. And in a lot of ways, I think something they've kind of forgotten is that single-player games kind of act as a loss leader, drawing people into a publisher's ecosystem, building rapport, creating credibility, and strengthening that studio's reputation. Because reputation is a currency. YouTubers know this all too well. Every single time I take a sponsorship, I'm defending some of my reputation, but I can't make everything I do a sponsorship, because reputation and respect has to be earned before it can be spent. And I think there's something to say about creativity as a currency as well. It needs to be generated and nurtured before it can be spent, and there is a finite amount of it. When you only focus on live service games, you are locking your developers into creative purgatory. They don't get to explore, take risks, or try something new. They're stuck, turning out the same shit, update after update, working on the same maps, the same mechanics, in the same game without ever learning anything new. Never evolving. Hell, I recently spoke with current and former Call of Duty developers when I was getting ready to make this video, and I asked them about the issues that were plaguing their games, and they all pointed to the exact same thing. They are never allowed to do any real engineering or creative work on the IP or its engine. It has effectively been the same thing for over a decade because Activision refuses to give them the time to improve it. Why? Because they have to ship a new Call of Duty every single year. Activision, from my perspective, is the poster child for abandoning single-player games and choking the life out of its own studios. They absorbed Neversoft and Radical Entertainment and then sent those developers into the Call of Duty mines. They killed creativity in exchange for predictable assembly line production, and now their games are suffering as a result of that. Why not let them go back and develop another Tony Hawk Pro Skater or a new prototype sequel? Let Raven Software go make another Singularity. Let's see how that experimentation and creativity can be used in Call of Duty, or maybe an entirely new IP in the future. This is why live service games are failing today. These companies are completely out of touch. Their games are devoid of creativity. They're pumping out copy-paste corporate slop that's only temporarily relevant before players inevitably just burn out from it. Live service isn't inherently bad, but the way that these executives have been handling it, well, it's a slow creativity training death march. Single-player games, standalone titles, or traditional games are in this industry. Live service games are just a product of that. They are what taught developers how to connect with players. They gave studios the time to understand what players actually want, to build mechanics that resonate, and to develop the skills that were necessary for them to succeed later on and create new things, like live service games. But these executives don't see it that way. They don't see developers as creators. They see them as factory workers, assembling the same generic product over and over again until they're burned out. And that's the real problem here. How creative do you think a developer can be if they've only ever worked on Call of Duty? What happens when you ask them to make something else? They can't. Have you guys noticed that every single time we see a game that's made by former Destiny, Call of Duty, or Battlefield developers, it just ends up looking like the same game that they've always made? The reason Activision doesn't make new games is because they forgot how to. And it's not just them. Franchise fatigue is killing single-player games too. Every Ubisoft open-world game feels like another Assassin's Creed reskin because nobody is allowed to branch out and try something new. But instead of course-correcting, EA, Activision, Ubisoft, and every other major publisher is chasing this model. They're betting everything on short-term profit. And while it's worked before, and it might be working now in some cases, it's not going to work forever. Eventually, they're going to run out of players that are willing to put up with the same tired games and developers that are willing to make them. It really is a death march because they can't take their foot off the gas. They cannot stop. They have to keep moving forward. They have to keep making more live service games. They have to command all of their attention because if they don't, the investors are going to leave. We can't have that. The CEO, he's not going to make that big old bonus that he wants. Lord knows they don't suffer from any consequences of their actions. They don't think about the long-term consequences of those actions on the companies that they have right now. They just rot them out and jump ship the second they get the chance to. ends up happening as a result is the longer that they pay attention to these games, the longer that these games command their full attention, well, the more damage it's doing to their audience, because they're cutting that audience, they're not getting anything new, they're not giving their developers any creative freedom to grow and be better at their job or improve the engine or whatever it might be. And what do you think is going to be the end result of that? Well, the foundation of some of these long-standing live service games is completely rotted out. It's just waiting for somebody else, a slight wind to come by and just topple the whole thing. You know, I was wondering something recently. Why live service games feel so homogenous? I know a lot of you guys have already experienced this. When you see a new live service game come out, you're like, that looks a lot like this other game, but just reskinned or a different theme or whatever. And the reason why is because they just keep cycling these developers around. Concord, brought to you by the developers of Destiny 2, making Destiny 2 combat boring and something here. We're getting Temu versions of games rather than anything genuinely fresh. 2K just fired the director of Project Ethos. Never heard of it? That's why they fired him. It's ex-Call of Duty veterans that are making a Fortnite copy, straight up clone, but diverse. Sound familiar at all to you guys? I mean, Xbox just hired the
Taking my
operations director.
Alright. Oh no.
The Chase Inc. business
No, I gotta take this all the way back.
back. Business essentials like internet, cable, and phone services.
Our chasing toward
I don't know how to read this map.
now everyone thinks something about that.
Chase for business.
That was a cut
Psychotic.
Why do you not know how to read?
This map.
Wow. X marks the spot.
So which way do I gotta go to?
We have to go that way. That way?
The biggest issue
Is that south?
these long-standing
Wait.
live service games
Okay, you guys
is that
gotta
they
get
are
out of here.
losing control of their games.
We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
And they're able to do something about
Maybe that's what I mean. It's a map. Is that how it's oriented? Or can I put a compass on this thing? Let me see.
updates. They just cannot fix anything. Never change, never evolve it. They're just waiting for somebody else, some other competition to come by and just knock them out of their seat. That's exactly what's going to end up happening. And the cycle is going to continue over again. And in the case
Let's
of
go for
EA,
compass. Mine rail. That's our
in their
mine
free
rail.
there, they have trained the talent, so there's not even a drop left. And now it's all going up in play. And something that I don't think they realized, I don't know how they didn't see this, fire's burning a little bit faster than they probably imagined. And the reason why, and it's something that I'm surprised a lot of other people haven't taken notice of, but did you guys know that in 2024 alone, PlayStation had 25 live service games hit their store? That's just on one platform. You add Steam into that pool,
Sweet. No,
they all
this.
want the biggest catch. Too many fishermen, not enough fish. The pond isn't getting any bigger. It's drying up. See, the problem with chasing trends is that eventually the market is going to reach a saturation point, and live service gaming has already hit its breaking point. The industry's gold rush towards live service games was fueled by the idea of seemingly endless profits from games like Fortnite, Warzone, and Genshin Impact, but as more games have flooded the ecosystem, the reality has become painfully obvious that players are spread too thin, and the industry has created an environment in which, well, nothing feels permanent. When PUBG first popularized the Battle Royale genre, its audience was locked in. There was nowhere else to go, but now that audience is disseminated across countless games: Fortnite, Warzone, Apex Legends, Hunt Showdown, Escape from Tarkov, and the list keeps growing. There's more and more competitors. The same thing is now going on with hero shooters. Once Overwatch ruled unchallenged, but now Marvel Rivals has stolen its thunder. Valve's Deadlock is quietly making improvements, and niche competitors are picking away at the audience that's left. And here's the core issue. The more options that players have, the harder it becomes for any single game to retain its audience. In the past, live service games had a natural monopoly. Players stayed where they had to. Now, the second a game stumbles, well, there's already another game that's ready to take its place. Now, what makes matters even worse is that these companies haven't done anything to actually hold on to their audiences outside of trying to trap them in loops of sunk cost fallacy. They don't build communities, they build financial incentives to stay, flooding the games with battle passes, FOMO-driven events, and expensive cosmetics, but there's a massive flaw to that system. Once players leave, they don't come back. And why would those players come back? Because it's not like any of these games are doing anything for them in the first place. They're not delivering on their needs. They're not not fixing issues in their game. Heck, they're not even keeping up with industry best practices. Newer live service games like Marvel Rivals have non-expiring battle passes, allowing you to be able to progress it at your own pace. Games like Helldivers 2 are pushing regular, meaningful content updates without the need for excessive monetization. You can earn it all just by playing the game. Meanwhile, Fortnite, the king of live service games, is constantly reinventing itself, offering massive collaborations, completely fresh mechanics, and incentives that actually feel rewarding. What have these long-standing live service games done to keep up? Almost nothing. Call of Duty, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, they've spent years raising their prices, improving content, and doubling down on aggressive monetization while offering less in return. They aren't rewarding players' loyalty, they're punishing it. And I know this firsthand. When live service games are fresh, I spend money all the time. I buy skins, battle passes, cosmetics, all of them.
Alright, what are we doing now?
Games that got released,
With
I
the
realized
minecart,
that none of it really
here,
mattered. Skins,
we
the
got our
battle
map.
passes, the digital trinkets that I spent money on,
Well,
all
we
this
gotta
stuff
decide
was
if we're gonna go
meaningless the moment
exploring
I
or
stopped
not.
playing that game. And as I moved from game to game, I stopped spending almost entirely because I knew I would inevitably leave. Why invest in something so temporary? Look at Call of Duty. They've tied Warzone to every new entry release in the series, meaning that every single year that there's a new Call of Duty that comes out, all the skins that you've purchased, all the camos that you've earned, all the progress that you've made, well, it's all wiped entirely clean. Every year, players are starting out in a brand new microtransaction ecosystem where their past investments, both time and money, have been made entirely meaningless because Activision doesn't value your money. What is going to be the long-term effect on those players? This is the environment that the industry has created. In their greedy attempt to chase infinite growth, they've now turned every single game into a temporary investment, eventually conditioning players to never fully commit because, well, they know something new is right around the corner.
Huh?
Market rates. LinkedIn knows that.
Taxes. Now taxes is TurboTax. Your last froze price, you can switch to the next one. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax.
And while we might not be seeing the full effects of this yet, I think we're starting to see the signs of it. EA's been doing the same thing with their sports games, and it's no wonder that year over year, live service money and player retention is falling. Players spend time and money in their Ultimate Team modes only to have that completely erased with the next installment. That's why I think it's nearly impossible for some of these struggling live service games to recover because they've trained their audiences to leave the moment things get stale. They've made
See, there's that other one.
monetization takes priority. They've made every single game feel like a disposable experience, so why should players stay or spend money on them? This kind of comes back to the original discussion I was having before on the long-term consequences of live service games, how the longer they go on, the more the industry loses sight of what actually brings players in. Most of these companies didn't start out making live service games. They had to make games that delivered value up front. They forgot how to do that. They used to have to make an impact on day one, and they had to hold on to players' attention.
Careful.
They had to be worth the money, because if they weren't, they failed. That sense of urgency and respect for the audience is gone when you turn a game into a routine. Now, beyond losing players in existing games, the oversaturation of live service games is making it nearly impossible to launch new ones. There are only so many players, and only so many people have the time, money, and patience to dedicate to a single game, yet these companies keep flooding the market with the same type of game competing for the same limited audience. Think about it. Sony planned over a dozen live service games to launch between 2024 and 2025. Where did they think those players would come from? And better yet, how did they expect for any of these games to be profitable when you're making so many live service games that you're not only competing with the industry, you're now competing with yourself. You are cannibalizing your own games. What did they expect? How did they think flooding the market with dozens of competing live service games, many of them sharing the same monetization models, gameplay loops, and even development DNA, is going to work? Look, live service games need long-term investment from players. They need dedicated time, engagement, and spending to be successful. Yet Sony and a lot of these other publishers keep trying to go with the shotgun approach, launching multiple at once, as if players are going to be able to juggle them all. All of these companies are cannibalizing themselves, splitting their own potential audience across too many projects, too many games, and too many financial asks. You can't build a thriving long-term player base when every 6 months you're throwing a new live service game into the ring and expecting it to gain traction. These companies have bet everything on endless live service growth, and instead, well, they've created an unsustainable arms race where games don't have a chance to even establish themselves in the market before somebody else is there trying to take their place. And the funny thing is, I've already been proven right, because what was the end result of Sony's big push into live service? Well, over 10 of the known projects that Sony has made for live service have been canceled, including the absolute dumpster fire that was Concord, with thousands of jobs lost, hundreds of millions of dollars torched for nothing. The only survivors, Bungie's Concord and Fairgame, which is effectively Concord 2 Payday Boogaloo, and we know exactly how that's going to end. Personally, I can't wait to farm it. Thank you, Sony, for the content. The only game that they actually found success with? Helldivers 2, a game that was a breakout hit, yet Sony found a way to be able to sabotage themselves, wanting to force players' PlayStation login, but luckily they ended up walking that back and the game is recovered. But I'm going to take a wild guess and say that game is not the success that they were trying to bet on. But this was Sony's big bet. They thought live service was the future, and out of the 12 plus games that they were working on, or at least the ones that we know of, only one of them found moderate success. Now they're just stuck cleaning up the wreckage. The reality is that this industry is too competitive and too unpredictable to bet everything on live service. These companies think they're diversifying themselves by flooding the market with live service games, but in reality, they're all just making the exact same game. Every game has a battle pass. Every game wants you to grind for unlocks. Every game wants you to log in daily. And when everything is the same, nothing stands out. And the worst part of it is that these companies know that the gaming audience isn't infinite. They just don't want to admit it. That's why we're seeing PlayStation and Xbox slowly abandon console exclusivity, because they need every sale that they can get. Square Enix and other publishers are finally putting their biggest franchises on multiple platforms because exclusivity just isn't sustainable anymore. Xbox is putting Forza Horizon 5 and the Gears of War collection on PlayStation, and allegedly they're also going to end up bringing the Master Chief collection over. I'm all for ending console exclusivity, and honestly, Xbox is making a smart move in doing this, but let's not pretend that this is happening because of some consumer-first mentality. This is happening because these companies are desperate. They've overexpanded, overestimated their own success, and now they're scrambling to fix the mess that they've created. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record at this point, but I don't think that video games and publicly traded companies are a sustainable combination. Games are nuanced, creative projects that do not fit into the corporate mold of ever-increasing stable profits. Investors and executives thought that live service games were the golden ticket. They thought that this was the first way to industrialize an industry that was, by nature, unpredictable. The reality is, it's impossible. Every game is a risk, every design choice, every mechanic, every update, they all carry uncertainty. You need that in this industry. That's how games grow. That's how these successful live service games came into existence in the first place. Cannot manufacture guaranteed success in an industry built on creativity and innovation. They're trying to turn
Isabel, Sydney, you guys get along.
forcing a cylinder through a square hole.
Isabel, don't knock the tent
These
down.
games need to evolve. They need to be different. Developers need varied experiences. Players need varied experiences. But instead of fostering creativity, these companies have suffocated it, dumping all of their resources into the same few live service titles year after year. Eventually, they're going to hit a wall.
Wonder where.
They realize that there's no fuel left in the tank, and when that moment comes, they don't have any creative ability to make anything new to pull them out of that death spiral, because they've spent all their time maintaining the old. But the bigger issue here is that the industry is expanding faster than the player base. The number of games keeps increasing. The number of customers isn't growing fast enough. There's too much supply, not enough demand. And it's not just AAA publishers that are running the show anymore. Smaller studios, indie developers, and solo creators are all claiming their share. Developers with easy to use, the barriers to entry are lower than ever. These corporate giants just aren't competing with each other anymore. They're competing with the entire gaming landscape. That's a fight that I don't think they're prepared to win. I don't think it's a fight they can. There are so many factors working against these live service games that I'm surprised that we haven't seen more issues pop up sooner than this. We've seen some of them over time, gradually, slowly but surely, but I think it's all starting to pile up, and it's going to turn into a massive fire here in just a minute, especially for these larger established franchises. Keep in mind,
Hi, baby.
without their sports games or without Apex Legends. What is Ubisoft without was it Rainbow Six Siege? Like, these are the things that are holding these companies together, and without them, they are in
I lost him, dude.
they are in a world of trouble.
Where'd he go?
And the thing is, how could you not see this coming? You can take any factor and point it directly at the live service industry, and it becomes a problem. Let's look at economics as an example. If I go to buy a video game, I don't
Hiding,
regret that purchase. I don't feel bad for making it. If it's a game that I wanted, as long as it's good and it doesn't have any that usually never ends up being a problem, because I wait. I don't pre-order games or anything like that. I wait to make sure it's actually good before I purchase it. I never have a
Or-
buy a
Found you.
microtransaction, I always feel dirty. I feel weird. I need to shower afterwards because it's not necessary. And if it is necessary, part of power progression or whatever it is, a gotcha game or something like that, then it feels even worse because I don't want to be buying those kind of things. Those are the exact opposite of the microtransactions I want to see in games, and then it feels even worse as a result of it. Now go and add any type of economic strife on top of that. Prices, inflation, people having jobs or whatever. Now they're going to make it even more difficult for them to be able to justify those purchases in those games, regardless of whatever their price is, because they know it's temporary. That brings on another
I don't know
problem because
why
the fact that
it's
these
there.
experiences are so temporary in the first place. The market is flooded with these games. There's so many different live service games to play. Look how many gotchas you can play, how many first-person shooters or battle royales or whatever. I don't feel like spending money on this stuff because chances are I'm not really going to give a shit about it in about a month or 2 or 6 or whatever it might be. I know I'm going to walk away from it. You got games like Call of Duty or the sports games that literally just erase all of the money that you spend regardless. So what's the point of you cheating money over there?
Easy, baby. Pick up the Batcave.
At this point, these games are going to run into some serious issues. Again, I'm surprised that it hasn't happened sooner. I think the real reason why we've seen such a big
Hell, I can't play right now.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, there's no way that they couldn't see the long-term effects of live service games. And then I realized they do. They know it. Because all these decisions are being pushed by CEOs that rarely ever face consequences for their actions, that are there to drive up revenue as much as they possibly can, frame the well, make money for the investors, and then jump ship as fast as they can. Then they can leave it for the next guy to find out the whole thing's about to collapse. They get to be the guy that can try to save the company if they can. Or you can be like Bobby Kotick and you can just sell the company to Microsoft. Good job, Bobby. There's so much more here that I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of this. I'm going to do the deep dive video on Call of Duty that's going to be coming up pretty soon. That next week, maybe. That's going to uncover more of these issues, I think. That's a really interesting case of that game. But, man, I really do feel like it is just the disposable nature of these games. That's probably the biggest thing. That's probably the biggest issue for most people. There's just too many of these games in the market replacing each other too quickly. And everybody is constantly looking for the next game to go ship to. And over time, not only are you going to have all these disposable games, but you're also going to have the audience that is spread out so much that most of these games likely aren't even going to be sustainable in the first place. They're not going to be able to make enough money to launch.
Yeah, what the hell is going on with all those games?
Playing those games in the first place. I think that's a big problem. Too many games. Like I said before, we got too many fishermen, not enough fish. And that's going to become a real problem. And at the exact same time, the other thing is that I just think that live service games kind of, play a flag in the face of like how these studios got started in the first place. Because the only reason that they got to make these live service games is because, well, they made single player or multiplayer experiences that weren't live service games before, and that's how they learned to get the ability to even pull players into their games, to make fans, to create this ecosystem that they have. And the further they get away from that, and the more they only pay attention to this byproduct of the industry, the more they're going to lose sight of what actually got them there in the first place. And when I look at the quality of the games and the quality of the content that's delivered to players, I'm seeing a direct correlation. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, share with your friends, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, follow me on Twitch, link is in the description, and yeah, thank you guys for watching. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Much best.
Whoa, I'm ready! Wasn't ready for that.
Let me go.
Wow, talk about sucks. Huh.
I give myself a little more pictures.
Yeah, just a few more. Gosh, dang it. See, every time, dude. No, farming villagers is so hard, so difficult. The whole nighttime and zombies come out thing is just, it is so tough, dude. You just literally, you almost can't play. You have to keep a clock with you, make sure it's because you go. I was underground and I came up in my village and all of a sudden it's nighttime. I didn't know. And then look at this dude, just monsters everywhere.
Well, creepers will die in the.
Uh-uh. So I'd literally have to put torches everywhere, fences everywhere. No,
There's a skeleton
it's
behind you.
it is tough.
Bro, I think surviving.
Probably his leather. It is tough trying to keep these villagers safe. Oh, good gosh.
I'm going to my own. That's why I invited to go to that place. Like,
How'd they even spawn in here? Hello, baby. Okay, that is definitely not what I want. Challenging. I don't know how Minecraft does it, but it does it, dude. You would think it's just a simple little game, but as soon as you start trying to... Oh my God, how did you do that? Come here. Ah. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know what else to do, man. Going full Eli. Oh. Easy, babies. I don't know what to do. I'm paralyzed right now with indecisiveness, I believe. I think is what's happening. I want to take him to the nether. Okay, let's do it, dude. We don't have any block. Okay, let's get rid of this shit. Just leave them right there for now, dude. Right there. We'll get rid of all this crap. Fuckers, dude. Come on. Go help your sister real quick, please, Sydney. Okay, I'm blanking out. What did I have here? It don't matter. I can use that armor, rotten flesh. Boom, 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 boom. Carrot don't matter. Gunpowder can use it up. Okay. Dude, you guys, what are you doing? No, it has a, yeah, it's, I swear this is hate content, dude. I swear this is hate content. I swear somehow it knows what you're trying to do. Yeah. And it just, yeah. Makes it a little bit more difficult, just a little more challenging. I don't know if they pick up gold or not. I don't know. I was just coming to drop that. Make it more interesting. That's all. All right. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, but it works. It's probably work. All right. Where else are we at? So we're gonna go exploring. Trial chamber. Whatever a trial chamber is. What do you got in here? Oh, hey. What are those go downstairs in the mine? Iron bars can get put up. Iron can get put up. Where'd you go? Right there. Let's go back. Dirt can go here. 18. Iron. Carrot. Go put it to where? It was right there. My horse back at the village. That would work good. 2 stairwells up, come in the entrance. Stairwell here. Stairwell like right around here. Up to here. Up to like right here. Something like that. Yeah, because they got plenty. Maybe I'll do those. Those stay. I'm just gonna take the cart. I gotta do something with him. Sydney! Where you at, beautiful? Go check on your sister for me, please. You have your tablet in there? Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Oh, no, I'm on. Okay. I'm away. OMW!
Discovery. But here, I guess let's start with some of the basics when it comes to exoplanets, and especially the ones that we might be habitable or what with water on its surface. And so, as of 2025, over 7,400 different exoplanets have officially been confirmed, with a link in the description basically showing us each